You need to move out. The words hit like a fist to the gut. You need to move out. I'm pregnant and can't have an outsider in my home. Sarah's voice, sharp and trembling, sliced through the quiet of our cramped apartment. Her eyes, usually soft with warmth, were cold, darting to the floor as if she couldn't bear to meet mine. I stood frozen in the kitchen, the half-peeled potato in my hand forgotten, its damp starch slick against my palm. The air smelled of burnt toast and betrayal. My pulse thundered in my ears, drowning out the distant hum of the city outside our window. Pregnant. An outsider. After 3 years of shared rent, shared dreams, shared everything. How could she say that? I forced a laugh, brittle and wrong. Sarah, what are you talking about? This is our home. My voice cracked, betraying the panic clawing at my chest. She didn't answer, just turned away, her shoulders rigid, her hands gripping the edge of the counter like it was the only thing keeping her upright. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating, until I couldn't stand it. Whose is it? I asked, the question spilling out before I could stop it, raw and jagged. She flinched, her knuckles whitening. Don't do this, Matt, she whispered, barely audible. Just pack your things. The next few hours blurred into a haze of disbelief and nausea. I moved through our apartment like a ghost, opening drawers, staring at the tangle of our lives. Her sweaters folded neatly beside my t-shirts, our toothbrushes leaning together in the chipped ceramic cup. Every object screamed us, but her words echoed louder, outsider. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but the weight of her silence kept me mute. Instead, I packed a duffel bag, my hands shaking as I stuffed in socks, a pair of jeans, the dog-eared sci-fi novel I'd been reading on the couch just last night, when she'd curled against me, her head on my chest, laughing at some stupid joke. I kept replaying the last few months, searching for cracks I'd missed. There'd been signs, hadn't there? Her late nights at the office, her phone angled just out of view, the way she'd started locking it with a passcode she never shared. I'd chalked it up to stress. Her promotion, the long hours, the way she'd come home smelling faintly of cologne that wasn't mine. I'd rationalized it all because love makes you stupid. Because I trusted her. By midnight, I was sitting on the fire escape, the metal cold against my thighs, the city's neon glow pulsing below. My phone buzzed, her name on the screen. A text, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. No explanation, no name, just those hollow words. I typed a dozen replies. Who is he? How long? Why? But deleted them all. What was the point? She'd already rewritten our story, cast me out of it. The next day, I crashed at my brother's place. His couch sagging under my weight as I stared at the ceiling, replaying her words. Pregnant. Not ours. Someone else's. The betrayal wasn't just the act. It was the secrecy, the planning, the way she'd let me believe we were still us. I wanted to hate her, but all I felt was a hollow ache, like something vital had been carved out of me. I went back to the apartment that evening, needing answers, needing to see her face. The key still worked, but the lock felt foreign, like I was trespassing. Inside, the air was stale, the lights dim. Sarah was on the couch, her knees drawn up, a mug of tea cradled in her hands. She looked small, fragile, but her eyes were guarded, like she'd been expecting me. Matt, she said softly, you shouldn't be here. Tell me who, I said, my voice low, trembling with the effort to stay calm. I deserve that much. She set the mug down, the clink loud in the quiet room. It's complicated. Complicated. I laughed, a bitter sound that made her wince. You're pregnant with someone else's kid, Sarah. That's not complicated. That's a fucking betrayal. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't look away this time. It's David, she said, her voice barely a whisper. From work. David. Her boss. The guy who'd always lingered too long at her desk, whose name she'd dropped casually in conversations, whose team dinners always seemed to run late. I'd met him once at her office Christmas party. His hand resting on her shoulder a second too long. His smile too familiar. I'd told myself I was paranoid. I wasn't. How long? Asked, my throat tight. 6 months, she said, And the confession hit like a physical blow. 6 months of lies, of her coming home to me, kissing me, sleeping beside me while she carried on with him. I wanted to break something, to scream, but all I could do was stand there, my fists clenched, my heart splintering. Why? The word came out small, broken, a plea more than a question. She looked down, her fingers twisting the hem of her shirt. I didn't mean to hurt you. Just happened. He was there and I was lonely, and you were always so distant. Distant. I snapped, the accusation igniting my anger. I was here, Sarah. Every day. Working, paying bills, planning a future with you. How was I distant? You stopped seeing me, she said, her voice rising, cracking with emotion. You were so caught up in your routine, your job, your everything. I felt invisible. Her words stung because there was truth in them. I'd been distracted, buried in deadlines, assuming she'd always be there. But that didn't justify this. Nothing did. The days that followed were a fog of rage and grief. I moved out, renting a cheap room across town, the walls thin enough to hear my neighbor's TV blaring late-night infomercials. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't stop seeing her face, hearing her voice. I wanted to confront David, to demand he face me, but what would that solve? He wasn't the one who'd promised me forever. Then, a week later, another text. Can we talk? Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a coffee shop, the kind of place we used to haunt, with mismatched chairs and the smell of burnt espresso. She looked tired, her eyes red-rimmed, her hands fidgeting with a napkin. I'm keeping the baby, she said, her voice steady but soft. And I'm with David now. But I need you to know. I loved you. I still do, in a way. Her words were a knife, twisting deeper. Love didn't do this. Love didn't lie, didn't sneak, didn't call you an outsider in your own home. I wanted to tell her that, to hurt her the way she'd hurt me, but I just sat there, silent, my coffee growing cold. There's something else, she said, her voice dropping, her eyes darting to the door like she expected someone to burst in. David, he's married. His wife doesn't know. And I'm scared, Matt. I don't know what to do. The confession hung between us, a final twist I hadn't seen coming. She wasn't just a cheater, she was trapped, tangled in a mess of her own making, pregnant with a married man's child. Part of me wanted to walk away, to let her drown in it. But another part, the part that still loved her despite everything, felt a flicker of pity. Sarah, I said, my voice hoarse. You made this choice. You don't get to lean on me now. She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks, and I stood, leaving her there, the bell above the door jingling as I walked out into the rain-soaked street. The city pulsed around me, indifferent, and for the first time, I felt the weight of her betrayal lift, replaced by something colder, sharper. Freedom.